recording.
Hey, Laina.
Hello, beautiful Roxy.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. We have a new friend joining us, a patriot,
Hello.
a spiritual being,
Hello.
and a fun dancing
Oh,
buddy.
this is Amelia, guys. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
So happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to transfer this to the computer. So.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let me welcome everybody to Ascension with A Course in Miracles, where we come together to learn what the Course in Miracles has to say about how we can regulate our own energy, ascend into the highest possible consciousness that is available to us at any given moment in terms of what it is that we want to accept and receive and embody. And it also is about understanding that when we drop in consciousness, it's because in that moment, we've not been able to hold our frequency. So we have just dipped down into a lower state of consciousness. It's not a bad thing. It just means we need to learn how to understand the scale of emotions, and we need to learn how to regulate ourselves. We need to learn a little more practice in forgiving ourselves for when we make an error. We trespass against ourselves and we drop in frequency, but we also can, through forgiveness, as the Course in Miracles teaches us, forgive ourselves our own trespasses and move ourselves up through those levels of consciousness. I am going to put this on mute so that we don't have any background noise. And then I want to open it up because I want to chat with you guys. But I want to come to you raw and real. I am pissed. I am pissed. And I do know, absolutely know, that in my humanness, I'm allowed to do that. It's part of the journey. It's part of having a physical body. And inside of that awareness of where this pissed part of me is, I can use it to transmute some of the insanity that's going on, to move myself into a higher state of consciousness, because right now I am having to harness this energy to really get clear about my purpose on this planet. And I've been feeling it. I've shared with you guys before. I've been feeling this incredible call ever since I became a grandmother, specifically since I became a grandmother, went to Colorado for the first time and held my little grandbaby. Felt this call to stand for my grandchild and for all grandbabies on this planet, because they're all one. They're all mine. They're all me. And in that clarity of what I need to do for my grandson, I've been sitting with, okay, God, what would you have me do? How is this going to show up? And I keep hearing loud and clear that I have to use A Course in Miracles, that is something that I need to stand on. The Bible is not what speaks to me. It's never called me. And I follow the guidance of the consciousness of I call it the Christ in me that guides me to use A Course in Miracles. I have used it in my life. I have watched the miracles that have been activated in my life, the healing, the wholeness, the place of integrity that I operate from, the honesty, the gentleness, the defenselessness, and also very, very equally, it has taught me how to be love. I did not know how to be what I was created to be until I began to study A Course in Miracles. And in this place of being pissed, and I'll tell you what has activated that. Maybe the list may be shorter if I were to talk about what hasn't activated that. But what has gotten to me today that has really solidified that I am a little bit of love and light and a whole lot of a warrior for God. And I am not afraid to stand up and go toe to toe with anybody who wants to talk to me about God, because I have had my own personal experience with God. I have it all the time. And I know what my truth is, and nobody is going to stand in the way of me living my life from my inner truth, because my inner truth does not invade anybody else's space. My inner truth respects everybody. But I am not going to back down to anybody who pretends to be an authority over that which I know is the actual authority inside of me and inside of them that they're not listening to. So I have a friend. I've known her for 5 years or 6, maybe longer. Maybe it's about actually maybe close to 10 years. Kate, Mama Kate. I met her when both of our sons were doing drugs. Fortunately, my son didn't go the route of heroin. Her son did. And you know how it started? He had his wisdom teeth taken out, and he was given a prescription that oftentimes leads to addiction to heroin. Our legal drug dealers supplied this. And that sweet little Daniel went on to have quite the journey, ended up in jail for 4 years. And Mama Kate, she fought the system like a warrior. And my son and I got to go and help with some of her events, did what little I did to support her cause, to cheer her on for 4 years as she made that trek to the jail to see her son, as she dealt with the terror of knowing what goes on in jails. Those are violent places. And what her son was charged with was so ridiculous, so absolutely ridiculous. The system is so fucked, it's not even funny. And watching her process and watching what she was sharing was so amazing. Not only do we have the legal drug cartel that gets our children all drugged up, gets them addicted, then we have a legal system that ensures that the legal drug cartel never gets convicted. But these kids gets into prison where they then provide financial rewards for the jail cartel. And all of this is possible by the government cartel. And the police cartel is in on it. The legal system cartel is in on it. So we have so many systems that are operating together. You know why? It's very simple. We don't have to blame the system, but the system is filled with people who are operating at this level of evil, at this lower frequency where they are not connected with the truth of who they are. They're connected to that which blocks the truth of who they are. They are connected to a part in their mind that is so selfishly oriented that only speaks to what can I get. It is not interested in what it gives unless it gives to get. And Mama Kate, other than standing on her head, and I think she probably might have done that too, worked diligently, politically correctly to get her son out of jail, created an organization to help the many other sons and daughters that are not only wrongly convicted for stupid things, but those who are there who deserve to be convicted, but are not being treated as the holy sons and daughters that they are. They're not being given the treatment, the help, the type of rehabilitation that would literally turn them into productive citizens because they fund the jail cartels. We have a sick system. The system is sick, but it's made up of sick people. It's made up of people who are not in alignment with their God selves. And we don't need to be judging those people as bad people because they are not bad people. They are holy brothers and daughters. They are holy children of God. They are expressions of you and I. They just need correction. Sometimes the correction may have to be quite swift. It may have to be quite uncomfortable for them. And in our current legal system, sometimes correction calls for death. That's part of the process. We incarnated on a planet that allows for that. But I am pissed because Mama Kate sent her son 3 days ago to a rehabilitation center where she paid $26,000. She and her husband paid $26,000 for them to help Daniel. And on the second night that Daniel was there, Daniel overdosed. How the fuck do you overdose in a treatment center? Unbelievable. Mama Kate sent her son to what she thought was a safe place that would take care of him. And you know, I am really blessed because my son was rehabilitated. My son was able to get off of drugs. And you know what we did it with? 12 steps and A Course in Miracles. My son opened his mind and his heart up to hear that the only reason he needed drugs is because he was hearing voices in his head that were telling him things that were not true. And my work was to help him listen to the voices in his head, his heart, that were speaking truth about who he is. So I was really blessed that I had this guidance. I had this happening in my life at the time. I was listening to the voice for God that was telling me, don't focus on drug rehabilitation. We have drug intervention. We've got soul intervention to do. And that helped me become very clear that that's the only thing that anybody needs is soul intervention. We all have the voice of God inside. We just don't listen to it because we've been conditioned to descend into the frequency of codependency, of addiction, of blaming, shaming, rule following, and total and complete disconnection from the truth of who we are. We have been through the education cartel deliberately dumbed down into submission. And again, I'm not going to blame these people that have done that. And you know why? Because to blame is a very low frequency. To blame is so make us lame. I am encouraging every single person to find your inner power, to stand up to that and say, no, I am not going to listen to you anymore. I am not going to fund you anymore. I am not going to give you authority over me anymore. I am not going to participate in anything that tells me that I should bow down to any false authority on this planet, because I know that we can only have two masters. That's it. We can only pick, I shouldn't say have two. We can only serve one because there are only two to pick from. One master is the master that is self-serving. It is our egoic sense of self that worships money because it has a very confused sense of worth. It thinks its self-worth is connected to its net worth. And when you begin to worship money and you make money your God, you cannot listen to the voice of God that operates in us, giving us the guidance, giving us the nurturing that allows us to remember the truth of who we are, that allows us to experience our God self, our gentle, loving, cooperative, collaborative self. And that voice cannot be heard when it's drowned out by this training that we have received, that we need to go and get and be and do and have and get and do and be and have. And no matter how much all of us, because see, it wouldn't be so bad if all of us had the equal opportunity to get, do, and be, do, and have. If we all had the same amount of money in the bank, well, none of us would be able to have power over the other. We would all be disconnected from God, but we would all be in an equal place of power. But because we have a system that has allowed for only a very few to achieve the levels of money that are necessary to be able to have control over a population, we have literally participated, we have been complicit in the creation of this incredibly insane system. And it does not help to blame, because to blame is to activate inside of us the energy of victim. And you cannot be a warrior for God if you are a victim of the ego. Those two frequencies are too far apart. It is just absolutely not possible to activate the clarity, because to be able to move into a place of courage, you cannot be a victim. You must move to a place of victory over that voice and have the courage to affirm the truth of who you are and move your way into reason. This is the reason that helps you think like God. This is what Einstein said when he said he didn't want to know, think that the know his own mind, who he was being considered, this guy with a big IQ. He didn't want his IQ. He wanted to know what God knows, because our IQ is a dot. None of us can have any more than that. Why? Because other people have their own IQs. We don't know what everybody else knows, so we don't know everything. But when you align with the mind of God, you get to know everything. You really get to know everything. And you have to move through forgiveness, acceptance of the insanity, so that you understand that there are really no bad people. They're just people who have bad training, people who have bad understanding of what truth is. The religious cartel has indoctrinated us by teaching us that God is outside of us. The government cartel has indoctrinated us in thinking that they are God above us, that they are the authority above us. The education cartel has made us totally, completely puppets and robots, minions. And we have participated in that because we have settled for so little, because our mind was trained into believing in lack, into believing that there's not enough, and that we have to work really hard for the tiny little bit that we get. And you know this story of the 1% and the 99%? That is such rubbish. And it's only possible because it's in our mind. We are the 100%. Every single one of us has the exact same amount of power. Here's the thing. We either give that power away or we harness it and use it. When we harness it and use it with the mind of God, we use it to elevate all of us. We are in total and complete oneness and respect of each and every one's right to life, liberty, and happiness. And Daniel had the right to life, liberty, and happiness. But Daniel, like everybody else, like his mama Kate, like me, like my son, we're indoctrinated into giving our power away. We're indoctrinated and then shamed for the decisions that we made while we were being indoctrinated to be powerless. So not only do you get trained into being subservient, but then they drug you, and then they tell you what you need to do to get out of these states. And all of a sudden you're in a total mess. We're swimming in a soup of deceit, of lies, of darkness, of total and complete lies, of the belief system that is total, complete bullshit. We're swimming in shit. But let me tell you something about shit. I grew up on a farm. I had grandparents that owned a farm. Shit can fertilize. We had cattle, and those cows dropped their patties all over the place, along with the horses and the dogs that ran free. And wherever those patties fell, it fertilized the ground and something beautiful grew. Grass grew. We didn't have to use no Roundup to get rid of weeds. We had cow shit that fertilized that ground and actually created the best possible grass for those cows to then have that incredible nourishment to keep producing the milk they produced. We can take this shit that we've been swimming in and turn it into fertilizer if we choose to find the light of God, if we choose to acknowledge the truth that is there. But we have to make the decision to shift from blaming and victims into total, complete victors by accepting once and for all the power in our mind given to us by God to have the free will to choose whatever it is that we want to believe. This is why I am just so on fire. I am just so completely on fire for God, for truth, for love. Doesn't matter what word you use. It's all interchangeable. I am on fire for accessing the intelligence that is available to all of us. This playing small and living as this some love and light teacher, the love and light teacher has been a lot of fun, has been wonderful. But I noticed through this journey that the love and light can be just as much bullshit when it is not used to activate the fire inside of me that God placed there to be one who is in service to humanity. I have a passion. I've always been a passionate person, but the only time I was a little bit numb in my passion was when I was all love and light, because I had this idea that somehow being love and light meant that, I'm just calm all the time, which I am, that I am just absolutely gentle all the time, which I am now. But love and light is fire, it's passion, it's what creates worlds. And to not allow that part of me to be fully engaged, I can see how it was part of my egoic spiritual self. Because, to the world, somebody who is like Jesus, doesn't mind turning over a table in the temple, is quite inconvenient. And those people get, they burn at the stake, they get crucified on a cross. But fortunately, my love and light journey brought me to a place that I know I'm eternal, so I'm not afraid of death. And now I'm reclaiming my passion. I am calling it forth. I am activating that furnace, and combined with the awareness of what love and light are, knowing that it is equal for every single brother and sister on this planet, knowing that I'm not better than anybody else and I don't have more access to God than anybody else. So knowing that that humbling needed to happen through my love and light journey, where I descended off of my spiritual pedestal and really grounded myself in the truth of the teachings. That many years inside of that space, I think that section has been about a 10-year section of my journey out of my 20 years. That 10 years or so of humbling myself, moving to the place that I really, really said, God, what would you have me do? I have zero embarrassment, zero fear, zero issue with saying, not my will, but God's be done, because I know what God is, and it is not some overbearing man on a cloud with a beard. God is life. I want life to tell me what to do. God is love. I want love to guide me. God is all of the intelligence that creates everything. I want that to inform me. God is the very joy that a child experiences when they are allowed to just be themselves. Humanity has lost that joy because we have been turned into absolute robots that end up using that training to judge one another. And when we traded joy for judgment, this world became a freaking mess. So I am using the energy of being pissed to ask God, what can I do? Where can I serve? How can I help Mama Kate? I am going to be very, very vocal about this whole legal drug cartel. It is absolutely not okay to keep walking around knowing this and doing nothing about it. See, the me that was busy becoming all spiritual and enlightened and teaching and coaching and doing all of those things, I couldn't be out there vocal about that and at the same time do what I was doing, because those energies in some ways were different, and I needed to ground myself in both of them so that I could balance them. And even though I'm telling you that I'm pissed, I'm really peaceful inside, because I also recognize that what is happening in the world is just a dance of energy. This is energy. Energy, this is the light of God that chose to have a human incarnation, experiencing how far, how low can I go? This is like, it's just we can do that. We can play how low can we go. It's like the 3D game of limbo. I think that's what you call it. How low can you go? And some have gone really low. And there is nothing wrong with that from God's perspective. As the Course in Miracles teaches us, we can choose to go low. But those who go low are giving us an opportunity for us to be clear about where we want to go. And when you become self-aware, you choose to rise, because it's not fun. It's painful. It's suffering. Why would anybody want to be in suffering when you're aware that you can choose something else? So when you know that you can choose to rise and be in service to all that is, be aligned with what humanity is meant to be about, Humanity is the human coming into alignment with its divinity and then being in service from that place. We will co-create a world from that frequency, but we don't know what that world looks like because we've been dilly-dallying with a lower frequency. So we have to begin to come together and create that world. We have to begin to connect with one another as we are doing, to make it normal, to be loving, to be lighthearted, joyful, having fun. And while we are crossing that bridge from the low frequency to the high frequency, we're going to have to face the darkness that we're leaving behind. We have to face what is not okay and say to it, I am not going to be complicit in this. I'm not going to vote for this nonsense. I'm not going to support this. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to come march. Instead of going to the mall to find the latest sale, we need to go march on the mall in Washington and say what it is that we want to be. We, the people, need to let them know how we want to be governed. And we want to be governed in love and light, in exactly what our founding fathers said that this country was supposed to be about. Because see, our founding fathers crossed the bridge. They left the evil of the empire behind, and they came here and created a world that was meant to be equal for all of us. Did they have old consciousness, lower frequencies? Did they still allow certain things to happen? Yes, that happened, but they diligently worked at it. They diligently did everything that they could to get rid of those things that they knew would be attractive to the ones who cannot stand grounded in the truth of who they are and are the weakest among us because they succumb to the God of money and power. So those people are the most afraid. Those people are the weakest among us. And those people can only have their experience of false belief and power if we give our power away. They can't have power. We don't grant it to them. And that is what we are being invited to do right now, is to see what they've been doing is not okay. Open up our eyes and see, are we going to put up with this? Are we going to put up with what they do in Afghanistan? Are we going to allow these legal drug cartels? Are we going to allow corruption in government? Are we going to stand up and call out what is happening in Congress? You know, we have a few warriors there. We have a few warriors everywhere. But the bulk of the warriors are those of us who need to stand beside them. We need to stand with them. And I can assure you that who is with God better watch out, because God has a very clear desire for us. And that is that we experience the purpose that God gave us, and that is to be happy. And the days of us being happy with little are over. It is time for us to only be happy with all of it. And by that, I mean all of it that is possible to be experienced by all of us. You see, one of the beautiful things that happens when you go deep down enough into the spiritual journey is you no longer do things for yourself. There is something amazing that happens to that individual sense of self, to that selfish little I. It dissolves, not without a fight. My ego fought me tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. I had many, many times I thought I was going crazy because I was overriding thoughts in my own head. Thoughts of, I deserve this, I should do this, don't do that, how much am I going to get, what am I going to do, what will they think if you do this, if you become love and light? And I had to say to my own self, no, I'm not going to believe what you're telling me. What do you mean you're not going to believe what I'm telling you? No, I'm not going to believe what you're telling me. You're telling me a low frequency thought, and I'm not going to believe it. Oh, who do you think you are? You think you're so elevated? Yes, I am. And you are not. And I was a crazy person for a while, because we do go through a spiritual bipolar phase. That's just part of it. Spiritual bipolar, you got to move from low frequency to high frequency, but it happens in you. It happens in you. This is why the course is a course in training your mind to pick one voice. And it is a self-study course. Nobody can do it for you. I'm just a guide. I just attempt to help you see what the teachings are in a much simpler way than how they have been written. But you have to do the work, just as I did the work. And if I can do it, anybody can, because there's nothing special about me. I'm just the same as everybody else. I just happened to be somebody who felt the presence of something that was indescribable. And when I felt the presence of that which was indescribable, that felt so amazing. I felt so free. Interestingly enough, as I was feeling that, my son was describing what he was feeling when he was on drugs. And I would say, oh my gosh, you're getting to feel that with drugs, and I'm getting to feel that without drugs. And because I was describing what I was feeling without drugs, and he could relate to it, he was willing to give me an opportunity to help him get high on life through God. Kate didn't have that same experience with her son. I actually don't know her spiritual path. I know she believes in God. But when I hear her words, I don't think we have the same teachings that brought us to that, but we came to the same God, the God of our own understanding. And she is a warrior for God in her own way. And I am a warrior for God in my own way. And I am so grateful to you for coming to these calls to participate, not only in my other events, but to participate in your own deliberate, conscious journey to awaken the truth of who you are, to harness the essence of your being so that you too can experience the life, the liberty, and the happiness that is available for all of us. And once you feel it and taste it, then you will not want to stop until everybody has it. That's why my being pissed is being harnessed for the greater good of all. Because I'm not going out there to bash people and tell them what they did wrong. I am going to go out there to let people know they can do the right thing. I'm going to call people out into seeing that they have a kind, gentle, loving spirit inside of them, and that it is not okay for them to operate out of greed when they have grace just as available to them. And I want to be an example of somebody who did that. I just as bad as everybody else, could have been just as corrupt as everybody else, even had my moments of greed and viciousness and lying and cheating and stealing. I did that. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, but I did it less than they did. It's the same energy. It's the same frequency. And accepting that for me and knowing that I could shift and lift into the higher frequencies, then I know if I can do it, anybody can, because I'm not more special. But I am equally as loved by a power that wants to express nothing but goodness through each and every one of us. And that, to me, is what the Course in Miracles helped me do. And that's what I like to teach people to be able to do through the breaking down of the information so that it become more practical, easy to apply, and joyful to practice, to experience, to embody. So thank you for allowing me to just share with you what has been boiling up this morning. Because right before I came to turn on our Zoom conversation, I had watched I think 7-8 minute Facebook Live that Mama Kate did. I shared it on my Facebook page. If you're my friend, you'll be able to see it there. And she is pissed in a good way. And I am pissed in a good way. And together we're going to be two pissed mama bears. She's a grandmother just like me. She's got 3 little grandbabies, one who happens to be Daniel's little son, little baby boy. So with that, I feel complete in my share. I feel so heard, so received, and I am very grateful to you for that. And now I want to hear from you. What's going on in your world? How is A Course in Miracles helping you? Today, I really want to hear what's active in your heart. I want all of us to be witnesses to maybe where you're pissed, maybe where you're sad. And let's use A Course in Miracles, maybe where you're totally at peace and absolutely feeling wonderful, and maybe you can add your love into this mix, and together let's co-create a wonderful, wonderful experience here. And before we go to that, I just want to say that my daughter in Colorado needed a little bit of help. So I'm actually going to be headed out there this Friday. Her husband's going out of town for 2 weeks and she needs some help with the baby, and grandma doesn't mind doing it. Abuelita is what she calls me. So next Tuesday, where we're going to have our in-person meeting, I'm going to move that to a Zoom meeting. There's going to be no charge for that. I just want to keep the community going. So I'll put a link for anybody who was there before and anybody who might, well, I'm just going to put it out there for everybody so we can gather through Zoom next Tuesday night and have just a casual experience. We can take some of the things that we talked about last time and implement that. So there's a share, and then there is a spend time with the lessons, spend time with the teachings. And it's all about, how do we embody this? I mean, if we don't put it into practice, what's the point? So I will, several of you were there, so I want to make sure you know that. So next Tuesday, which is August the 24th, we will be meeting via Zoom, but the rest stays the same unless I'm redirected. So thank you for listening. And now please unmute yourself and share from your heart. Maybe you have something to say about what I said. Maybe you just have your own thing you want to share and you want to bring about. Yes, Crystal.
Well, beloved Laina, you are on fire today. Yeah, you are on mute.
Yeah, you didn't even, thank you. You didn't even know I was going to say this because you were upstairs while I was busy watching Mama Kate's video.
That's so awesome. And you mentioned about the shit, you know. We were sent, I was sent a thing about shit. There's so much shit in the world, but there's good shit and there's bad shit. And some people have shit for brains, and some people get their shit together. And and I'm reminded about having learnt in the Taoist tradition of how to manage your emotional energy, your emotional shit. And there's a technique that they share about taking responsibility for what you're feeling and transforming it through meditative techniques, and then releasing it into the universe, because then it becomes like fertilizer for the universe and Mother Earth to utilize in a neutral form as opposed to a charged form. And you know, I related that to what you said about, you know, because I also grew up with cows and animals pooping all over the place, and you'd see the grass coming up. And so if we get our personal house in order, emotionally and mentally, and then release all we have of who we are, we are providing nutrition for everybody, and it's not in a charged form. So it makes total sense. That's what I sort of picked up now from. I was reminded by that from what you said. So.
Thank you, sweetie. I didn't know you knew so much about shit.
That's not the half of it.
All right. Popcorn style. Just unmute yourselves and share when you feel guided to. Thanks for the happy face, Lisa. Yes, Kat.
There we go. First, just say my heart just goes out to all the people suffering in this insanity, the way it is. It just makes me want to cry. It's just so frustrating. That's not even a word for it. It's so evil, so unbelievable. And it seems so daunting. How in the hell do we deal with this? But for myself personally, I have, there's 3 girlfriends, we've been friends for years, like 15 years, I don't know, maybe more. And so one of them was having us up to her house at Bent Tree on September 11th, the weekend. She has a place to be. So we were also excited about it because we haven't seen each other and haven't all been together in a year and a half or so. But anyway, so I was so excited. And so, well, I got a text this morning saying that she needed to know if we'd all been vaccinated. Because if we weren't, she owns a business up in Jasper and blah, blah, blah. So many of her employees got sick. She's very liberal also, but so many of her employees got sick, and she just can't risk anything. So I haven't heard, so I just said, I am not vaccinated. I take ivermectin and the supplements I know to keep my body healthy. And, I'm happy with that. And I haven't heard back yet. I know, and I'm pretty sure that I will be uninvited, which is unthinkable to me. And it probably will be to at least to the other ones, and that's okay. It's like, that's the thing. She has her freedom of choice and I have my freedom of choice. So that's a beautiful thing. And then when I was walking down the elevator this morning, a guy in the building, he just started talking about his dog. And then he says, well, I'm sure you're vaccinated, right? I said, no. He was in there. He backed away from me. We were in the elevator and then we walked. He said, anyway, he just couldn't believe it. And then he prayed over him, or he did some kind of a sign over me or something. I don't know. It's just, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing this fear, this insanity more and more every day, more and more affecting me. And yet I'm okay with it. It's not the end of my world by any stretch. Yet there are these, they slide things in. Things kind of slide in with people judging and people not understanding, not being vaccinated. So I just wanted to share that because it was a sort of a sadness this morning for me to have this experience with my friend, not with the guy in the elevator. But so I think we're going to be more and more and more and more and more confronted with this. So
it is coming faster and furious, because those who are of that mindset that people need to be controlled are being told what to say to try to control the uncontrollables. So we are literally in a state of being exposed as those who are not controllable. And when somebody like this gentleman prays over you, say thank you. Thank you so much that you prayed over me, but really don't worry, because I am aligned with God. That's how I know my immunity system is perfectly healthy. And we've got to begin to speak to the truth of why we know we have this faith in what God has given us, because at the end of the day, the only thing that needs to be exposed is the ways that we have blocked God. That's it. We have to expose that we have faith in pharmaceutical, money-making people, in corruption in government. We have more faith in that than the God that heals all things. We have more faith in that than the God that created our immunity system and set this whole universe in motion. We have more faith in a man-made pill than natural things that God has created. And the only reason we have more faith in that than in God is because our minds have been convinced otherwise. So we need to begin to be the ones who are willing to carry the torch, the light of truth that helps plant the seeds in minds that will activate, because see, the truth in them is going to resonate with the truth that we're sharing, but they can't have that resonance if we attack them or blame them or judge them back. We must be the planters of seeds of truth and just speak it out loud, let it fall where it falls, because we have to trust that God in them is waiting for that little seed. And maybe when we are speaking, maybe we're not planting a seed, but we're fertilizing, because we're dropping good shit in them. We're fertilizing the seed that has already been planted there, but it needs the water. It needs the sunshine. When we speak truth from a peaceful place, we are that sunshine. And when they can see that in us, no attack and respect for what they're believing and they're choosing to do, we become the example. You know, Jesus did not walk on this planet to tell us what we needed to believe. Jesus walked on this planet to show us that he was the way because he embodied it. And we could do that too. But we had to become the example, just as he was an example for us. And that is what the world needs now more than anything. And let the passion in your heart activate whatever you feel like doing that is in alignment with God. And you will feel that fire, but you will also feel the peace. And that is what is so exciting about what's happening inside of me, because this passion is like, holy cow, I used to have that passion. Girl, I'm Latin. I used to be fiery and passionate. Lord, I can tell you how many planets I have in the fire sign or whatever, however that goes. But I hadn't felt this unbelievable desire to just, it's overwhelming, but it is so peaceful, and not here to attack and condemn, but rather here to express truth, to help liberate. And that is just so freaking different. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for loving your friends. And if you don't, go say, that's okay. I want you to be happy. I want you to be as peaceful as I feel peaceful about this. I'll miss you, but call your other girlfriends. We're here. I'm in town that weekend.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you so much. Brother Vern, yes, please.
Yeah.
You feel me, don't you?
I feel you, babe. I really feel you. So I'll do this as fast as I can, but I am going to honor myself. If I go too much,
No hurry.
feel free to interrupt me.
No hurry.
Saturday morning, this last Saturday morning, we have a men's group at the Unity, and it meets once a month on the first Saturday. And we get together, and there was, I think, about 20, 25 people there this time. We were finally meeting in person, but we went through a bunch of stuff about mask, not mask, back on mask, everything back and forth. And we started going around. We normally do a check-in, and we went around, and the subject of COVID came up, of course, and mask and not masking, and all the stuff that's going to vaccine, not vaccine. I guess it was either lucky for me or unlucky for them, but I was last to share. And I think they do it I think they do that intentionally. Matter of fact, one of them told me they did. Let me speak last. So we started around, and they're going around, and one of the statements that was made, well, you know, if you don't want to get vaccinated, then what you need to do is you need to leave. You need to move. And along with a number of other statements about that. I just like bit my tongue, and I just sat there, and I said, okay, yeah. And that's about halfway around the circle. It went on and on and on and on. Pile on, pile on, pile on. That's what it felt like anyway. And we had the love and light, you know, just love and light. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. You know, don't push, don't pull, don't do anything. And I had been thinking about this for a long, long time. So when it finally got around to me, I decided I wasn't going to put any energy into that. I just, even though I was feeling it, I didn't. So what I basically said is, you know, I've been thinking about only two things: First Amendment and Second Amendment. Those are the two areas I seem to be called to focus on. And can I use my higher awareness, my higher self, both as strategies as well as implementation, employing them. And I said, you know, one thing I think we should do here was I'd like to get a small American flag and put it in the center of our table, because we sit in this gigantic, big, you know, combination of tables. And I'd like to start off each of our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance because of what I was feeling. I said, I really would like to do it. Man, oh man, I can't believe it. The number of people that were against that. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And there's a lot of other stuff that came out, and I don't want to talk about it right now, but so that's how Saturday started for me. By the way, I do have a plan, and I'll tell you right now what the plan is. The next meeting we come in, I got 2 small flags. One's the American flag and one is the POW MIA flag. And I'm going to put them right in front of my chair next time. And I'm not going to say another word about it. So I'm bringing my thoughts and my ideas without putting it on them. And that's the way I'm going to honor myself and still express myself. So what happened then is Sunday, I'm sitting having coffee in the in fellowship hall there. And Richard comes over and he heard a little bit about what was happening on Saturday, a little bit. And we were talking about the flag, and he says, yeah, he says, you know, I had a fight to get the flag put back up in the sanctuary. A large group of people didn't want us to have the flag in the sanctuary of the church anymore. And Richard had a fight to get that back in there, and it is in there, it's up there. But it was like, now it's about, are you an American or not American? I mean, it's going beyond just vaccinated, not vaccinated. You know, what are you or not, what are you not? So I left there pretty just, I'm not quite sure where I was at. Then I woke up on Monday morning and I had this pain in my leg, really bad pain in my leg. And, you know, I'm one of those guys that, oh, just tough it out. And I finally got to the point I couldn't do anymore. So I actually ended up going down to the emergency room at the VA hospital. Welcome to your day in hell. I have avoided that place as much as I can, but I had to go and have a choice. I spent 8 hours in the emergency room. I saw so many people, so many vets coming in with all kinds of stuff. You would not believe what they're dealing with. Drug addiction, you know, alcoholism, PTSD. One guy came in, his head was bleeding. It took us, I finally stepped up and said, we got to stop. I'm sitting down there. And I said, the first thing you need, stop the bleeding, please. I had to yell it out 3 times. Stop the bleeding, because they do what's called triage. They want to see, and then they treat in order or whatever it is. This guy, and he's about 80 years old. He's laying over in the corner. His head is bleeding like crazy, and they're waiting to put him in to process him through the system. So I finally got up and I got really pissed. And I just said, and I yelled out, I said, we need somebody over here right away. So finally they did. But here's what's going on. I'm sitting there for 8 hours. The place is packed. They have 2 televisions going. We're seeing all the shit that's going on in Afghanistan. You got to remember, most of us that were there, majority of them are Vietnam vets. We remember Saigon. We remember what happened in Vietnam. We remember all of that stuff. And we're watching it on TV all over again. Seeing that, the anger, the rage, and guys were screaming and all over, they were yelling and screaming out at the TV. So you want to see some very angry people? When I finally got in to see somebody, the nurse that did triage with me, it's a male nurse. He's not going to get he says, I'm going to lose my job in about 10 days because I'm not going to get the vaccine. Because, you know, they passed the law 2 weeks ago that any employee of the Veterans Administration medical system that doesn't get the vaccine are going to lose their job. That's every doctor, every nurse, and everything else. When I finally got to the technician, because they thought I had a blood clot and it might be going up to my heart. And so when I finally got to that level, but the technician that did it, he's not going to get the shot. He says, I'm not getting the shot. I'm refused. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put that poison in my body. These are medical technicians at the VA hospital. And when I finally saw the doctor at 7 o'clock that night, he told me the same thing. He says, no. He says, I'm probably going to lose my job. And then he dropped a big bomb on me. He said on the second week that Biden was sworn in, he withdrew something like 60% of the increase in budget for the VA that Trump had put in, because Trump had put it in. They're taking money away from the VA helping all the guys that are there. 60,000 suicides on top of the 50,000 vets that lost their life are there. Over 60,000 vets are homeless on the streets of the United States every night. These are real statistics that we know of anyway. So I'm just like, I am just livid. I'm just like, I'm in a pool. I just feel like I just want to scream. But when I finally got out of there, we finally got the test results back, and I don't have a clot. So it was just a pain in another thing that they're working with me. But I'm telling you right now, and then one of the things I saw on TV when I'm watching it, because they had it was like a YouTube channel or whatever they were doing. I think it was last Thursday night, there were military tanks, hundreds of military tanks on a train at Eckworth, Georgia. I actually saw them. They were showing the video of the train going by, and I counted hundreds of our latest tanks in Eckworth, Georgia. What's going on? What's happening? Why would we have that many tanks in Eckworth, Georgia? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I know I'm rambling. I knew I would, but I'm telling you, I'm so angry. I don't know what I got to watch what I say. And I want to say one more thing, and that's this: is that I've had a chance, and I haven't said this before, but in the last probably 60 days, I've talked to a lot of people whose business is around the area of consulting or around the idea of being a coach or whatever, because I've associated with so many as a group over the years myself. I can't tell you how many of them will tell me, I want to say something, I really want to step forward, but I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my business. People won't come to me anymore. And that's happening in a lot of places. I mean, this is big stuff. So, by the way, New York just announced they have the mandate requirement now, vaccine card that you have to show in New York in order to go to the restaurants and to the stadiums and everything else. And even if you have there is no exemptions, even if you have a religious exemption or whatever. So it's real. It's here. It's knocking on the door right now. I'm going to try, and thank God I came back Monday night, and I just sat back in my chair and I just let it all go. I just let it all out. I have a towel technique that I used to teach about handling rage for Vietnam vets. And I got my towel out and I began twisting it, getting that out of my body. I had to find some way of releasing it from my body. And that's one way of doing it, by twisting the towel. And I just sat there for, I guess, about 2 hours. So I know where I'm at on it. I'm past being angry. And that's why I have to watch myself, because I'm almost afraid of speaking up at Unity. I never thought I would. I'm going to, okay. But sometimes you have to, even if you're afraid, you have to speak up. And I'm quite clear that that's where I'm at. So I'm sharing a bunch of stuff, and I don't mean to dump on everybody, but
grateful,
that's where I'm at.
Grateful, brother. Grateful that you felt safe to share, that you felt inspired to share. And I hope you can feel the just total, complete love and respect and appreciation that is here, because we have got to harness this energy and do something with it. And those fears are the places that the Course is inviting us to see are remnants of the conditioning. When you know who you are, there's no fear. So the fear is coming up for us to see where we've been conditioned, and what the world, the leaders, so-called leaders, are doing, are just helping us. Actually, they're showing us more clearly what we have to say no to. So thank you. And my heart goes out to all those vets. And, you know, I want to stand for Daniel. I want to stand for the vets. Nobody should be treated as less than the holy being that they are. And now we can't just sit back and hear this news. Oh, it's just happening on the other side of the world. It's happening over there. We have got to be active. Call those politicians, go march, go do what your heart leads you to do. Always asking God, what would you have me do? So thank you so much, Vern, and Sister Latonia. Thank you so much for sharing. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. Latonia, can you, let's see. So maybe until she comes back, is anybody else want to share?
I'm on my phone today. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we sure can.
Okay, I've had some connection issues, so that's why I'm on.
No worries, no worries.
Okay. Well, of course, in miracles. I mean, even just today, the Wednesdays, I look forward to them.
Oh, sister, the connection is really challenging. Can barely hear you. I did hear that you look forward to these Wednesday conversations, though.
I do. I'm going to try and call through my laptop again. The connection was bad, so I'll try. I'll come back.
Okay, come back, and then we'll go to whoever wants to go next. And then I do have something from the course. I just opened up whatever page opened up, and something jumped out, and I went, "Oh wow, we have got to hear this." So anybody else wants to share, go ahead and unmute yourself. Yes, Lawana.
So what's happening to me is I'm listening to the voice of God, and that's been a struggle, as we talk about in the class, that I would hear the voice of God, I hear my higher levels, and go, no, you got to operate in the matrix, in the lower level. So it's been a constant struggle for most of my adult life, but that ego did become dominant. Point being is, over this course of 6 weeks or whatever, it's becoming stronger. In this past probably 4 or 5 days, I've really spent time in meditation, disconnected, because the last couple of weeks it's been real. I've been in the trenches emotionally. It's been rough, felt bad physically, mentally, everything. So the past few days I've been rising and listening more. But point is, now I'm looking at it from being very optimistic, but feel I'm getting stronger, because I am listening to the voice of God, and the clarity's coming through, and the things are coming through, and what to do moving forward in the higher realms. I'm being drawn to start a smoothie business, and to have the tonic teas, and now to grow wheatgrass and things like that, to begin to heal the body for the people that are awake, or the people that are waking up. So it's very exciting. So I just wanted to share. You're asking what's happening with me, and it's shifting, and really listening to the voice of God in my higher levels, knowing that voice is the right one to listen to, instead of the egoic voice. So I just wanted to share.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. And we can hear that voice more clearly when we are willing to really connect with what feels good. And it always has a component of service to the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It always does. And it has nothing to do with money. It's because there's a trust that it's what we're supposed to do to align with what the world is calling for.
You know, that's been such a struggle with me for years. I was like, this monetary system did not resonate with me. And I've struggled so much in that arena with businesses and trying to do things and get things going. I'm like, why do I struggle so much? And I'm ended up with credit card debt. And so it's just like, this is not right.
Yeah. It's not right. It's not right, because it's been created by very few to benefit them. So the cards have been stacked against us, but we don't need to go blame and fight against them. We just need to get our head clear first and begin to say no, and stand together with those who say no. This is what we're expecting. and we begin to create. All those people who are going to leave their jobs in all of these fields, they need to come together and create a new business.
Exactly. And that's what I feel.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
all these doctors that are leaving, well, they start their own practice.
exactly.
And we go to them.
And don't go get a license. Don't fall under that system.
Yeah, I feel that coming.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you. All right, LaTanya, let's see. Let's try this.
All right.
Oh, that's better so far.
Okay. All right. Wow. I was saying that A Course in Miracles on Wednesdays, at least, has been like a refreshing time for me. To get with like-minded individuals and to just share. Now, this past week, I have been through a lot. And my kids, my now 15-year-old and now 22-year-old, they just turned those new ages this month. They're visiting their dad up in New York. And when they left me, they weren't vaccinated because I was not going to vaccinate them. Now, you guys know, you all know he's actually gone ahead and done it. He's vaccinated my kids. And it's been so hard. I mean, I did not intend for that to happen. And the relationship I have with my kid's father has been amicable, it's been cordial, it's been great. And now it's like, it's a total rift. And I homeschool my 15-year-old. My 22-year-old has special needs. And every day I see her, and it's good that I see her when I'm teaching, but I'm also concerned, about her. I'm concerned about both their health. And it's just been bothering me the whole time. And then I speak with my auntie. She raised me with my uncle from the time I was 8. And I spoke with her this past weekend, and she asked if I was vaccinated yet. And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not. I'm not doing that. And she really ripped into me. And she was being very rude, very condescending. And I said, I just hung up on her because I couldn't take that. So at this point, I'm losing family.
Sister, big hug, big hug. I feel you. But let me say this. The Course in Miracles wants us to understand that we cannot find our inner source of power until we see that everybody else has it too. You have to give them that awareness for you to retain it as your truth. They're on their journey, and part of their journey is to do something that upsets mama to the point that mama has to see that you don't know what is best for them. God knows what is best for them. And your work is to maintain the love, to maintain the respect, to maintain the open channel of communication. It's okay to express, this is not what I would have done, but I'm shifting from being your mom to being your holy sister. And I am going to know that your journey is your journey, because if you take on the belief that you know better for another, you're going to suffer. Because number one, you can't control what they do. But number two, you won't be able to control your thoughts because the ego has taken you to a place of disempowerment. You're swimming in blame. You're swimming in anger, in disappointment, and all kinds of frequencies that are not going to serve you. And let me say something about this journey. Even though everything we do is for the greater good of all, it will not be for the greater good of all until we get ourselves completely aligned with the truth of who we are first. You have to, instead of being self-centered, you have to center in your higher self, your God self, the self that knows there is no death. The body is not what is ultimately real. We all pick up these body vessels to have experiences where we bump against each other. Vibrationally, we bump against each other for the game of seeing who's going to move to the light, who's going to go into the darkness. You will go deeper into the darkness if you go into anger or blame. You will use what they're doing to go deep, go further, higher into the light. If you say, you know what, I'm going to respect your choices, but it's not for me. So bring peace to the family by being one who respects. That's a beautiful, beautiful attribute of one who is really spiritual mature. And in that place of respecting their choices, find out what are those beliefs that are activating your fears. What are the things that you don't think should have been done or could have been done differently? Because all those beliefs can be used from what's going to drive you insane because you're thinking this is horrible shit that's happened, or what is going to fertilize you to let you step into a higher state of awareness. Tell me, what do you think about what I just said?
Centering is important and being respectful. And I can understand that, and that'll just keep me stable somehow. So I will work towards that. I really will. Because at this time, I'm thinking sending emails and doing things like that. Hey, this is happening over here because of the vaccine is futile. It's futile. So at this point, my point is to center myself, is to understand and recognize that there is that it's their path and this is my path. And just show love. So.
And more than just show love is recognize their sovereignty. Because as you see them as powerful beings, you actually are activating your energy field that they step into. Seeing them sovereign, that energy field can transmute anything that is not of love, can transmute anything that is man-made. So in your field, they can come for healing when they feel that total unconditional love that does not judge them, but rather enfolds them in their sovereignty. And that will have more power for good than you activating judgments in you. They'll feel it. They'll go tighter, denser. They'll push back from you. They'll want to hear a lot less what you have to say. And you then are activating illness inside of your being. And then the enemy wins twice, with them and with you. Take that away from the enemy by not being willing to participate in low frequencies. So when I opened up the book in the Course in Miracles, it opened up to lesson 320. I thought I was supposed to read 319, but I'm being guided to 320. How perfect, and how perfect that you just spoke. So let me read the title of lesson 320. My Father gives all power unto me. This is a very short lesson. The Son of God is limitless. There are no limits on his strength, his peace, his joy, nor any attributes his Father gave in his creation. What he wills with his Creator and Redeemer must be done. His holy will can never be denied because his Father shines upon his mind and lays before it all the strength and love in earth and heaven. I am he to whom all this is given. I am he in whom the power of my Father's will abides. When you receive these words and you then read this very short prayer, only 3 sentences, your will can do all things in me, and then extend to all the world as well through me. There is no limit on your will, and so all power has been given to your Son. If you don't accept that you are the child of God and are limitless, and so is everybody else, that this is a line that I learned to add to everything the Course says when I read it about me, oh, and so is everybody else, The Son of God is limitless, and so are our children, so is Biden, so is the Taliban. There are no limits on their strength, their peace, their joy, nor on any attributes that our Heavenly Father, Mother God have given all of its creation. What we will with God and our Redeemer must be done. So all we need to do is align ourselves with God and then be an example of what people need to do to shift the trajectory of where we're headed. And when you respect, well, you made your choice and you took the vaccine, or you're going to have a party and you're not going to invite us because I didn't take. That is so wonderful. You know what? I so honor your choice. And I see you as a sovereign being. I see you as the child of God that is totally limitless. And may you experience what you desire to experience from that. If you took it because you want to feel better, may well-being be your experience. And I honor you as much as I honor my choice to also make my own decisions, because our holy will can never be denied, because our Father shines upon our mind and lays before it all the strength and love in heaven and earth. We've been given all of that. We just need to learn to access it. The only way this world is going to change is if we become examples of how to access that. The world is full of examples of beaters, blamers, beating on people, telling them what they should and shouldn't do. The world has plenty of those examples, but what the world needs now more than anything is people who example what free will is all about. And with free will comes the respect. I've got to respect your free will if I want you to respect mine. And that's where you do not back down. It is my will. It is granted in the Constitution. The Nuremberg Code says that I do not have to consent to taking something experimental. I will not be your guinea pig. There are lots of beautiful light workers who have created documents, who support us. It's absolutely amazing how many people have rallied from this consciousness to create what we need to be able to move forward. And the world is about to split in a big, big way. It's happening sort of, kind of, but it is going to split. People who are going to be attracted to working, to being in community with those that are like-minded are going to have to decide. We have to come to the point of decision. Am I going to stay in the world that I have created out of fear of losing the house, the money, the this, the that, or the other? Or am I going to stand in my sovereign, which means I'm going to have faith that God is going to provide. And this is where humanity has gotten totally, completely bamboozled. We have learned to be provided by ourselves with our work, depending on somebody else to give it to us. And we need to come back to God, which means we need to be very, very comfortable with losing the attachments to the things that we thought kept us safe, because the only thing, including our bodies, the only thing that keeps us safe is knowing that we are eternal, and our eternalness cannot be affected by anybody on this human plane. Anybody on this human plane that is playing in these lower frequencies, we need to see them as wonderful opportunities for us to see what side of the bifurcation are we on. Are we on the side of faith or the side of fear? On the side of liberty or the side of enslavement and safety? And when we can answer with honesty what side we're on, even if we are straddling the fence, we need to then get clear. Am I going to hold on to this stuff, or am I going to free my hands to open up for what God can show me? Because I can promise you, we cannot think very highly. We are not very creative when we think with our own little mind. That little dot of information that we have access to through our conditioned self is absolutely nothing compared to the creativity that can flow through us, that help us be part of what brings something new, birth something new on the planet. And we cannot extend that to others and experience the giving and the receiving of the incredible success that is going to happen to those who are serving the children of God. We can't have that success while we're holding on to what little we have been conditioned to believe is what we have. So I feel you, sister. I feel each and every one of you. These are really challenging times, but hey, It's during the challenging times that we get to find out what we're made of. And God is needing warriors right now. God does not need any more love and light scared people. And anybody who cannot stand before the American flag, the only document in this entire world that guarantees the freedoms under God, is spewing love and light from their asses, because that is not coming from their heart. That is just pure nonsense that is being shared because it is coming from the ego that has corrupted, because the ego corrupts. All right, who else wants to share while the lawnmower people are here? On cue, Wednesdays. Just unmute yourself, please. Lisa, please.
I am on my cell phone, so if I'm breaking up, I'm so sorry. But
No worries.
everything that was shared just so resonated with me because, first of all, Vern, my father, who is a Korean vet, pushed to get the American flag in the church. They used to have the flag years and years ago, but they somehow eliminated it. And he actually went toe to toe with the pastor of the church and said, you're allowed to practice this religion here because of the freedom that the American people fought for you in this country, in this land of the free. And he eventually did rally some vets there, and they got the flag placed at the front of the altar at church. So I understand that passion. These are people that are being forgotten what this country fought for. And the other thing that so resonates with me is, when you started talking about the addiction piece, addiction just kind of swirled around in my family and in friends. I see it. My nephew, who has the most kind and gentle heart, went in for a back surgery because he hurt his back on the job, and they botched up his back. And the medications they were giving him got him addicted, and he got addicted to heroin, and now he's living on the streets of Chicago. And yes, he does have a beautiful little son that his grandparents are raising. And I just feel so much sadness, but I feel so much empowerment. Things are stirring up inside of me that I feel the fire in my voice to do whatever he wants me to do. His will be done, to fight, to speak, whatever action he wants me to take. I am here and ready. And I think I've been preparing for quite some time for this journey, because my heart has changed. And I too love these gatherings on Wednesday because, it just helps me create a deeper relationship and more vision to know what it is that I'm called to do. So thank you, everyone, for sharing.
Sister, thank you so much. Thank you. When I was inspired to start these conversations, I had no idea what it was going to turn into and who was going to come. And I just do not cease to be just absolutely amazed by how much I get from it. And those of you who've been coming since the beginning and just continue to come, clearly there is something here that is feeding you. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep coming to a dry well. You must be coming to a well that is offering you sustenance. And I just like to be a vessel for whatever flows through me to flow through me. But I want to offer some very simple
Laina,
Yes.
these, the term has already been used many, many times, but this is conversations with God.
This
is conversations with God. That's what this, in a real practical way.
Well, that is then God is having its way. So that is a beautiful thing. I'm so grateful that that is the way that you feel about it. And I just want to offer like a practical tool. And the course is filled. You have to find the places where it gives you steps. And I can't tell you exactly where this happens to be right now. I would have to spend a little too much time looking for the lessons. I kind of have an idea of where it is, but like I said, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time there in the short amount of time that we have. But the steps are really simple. So I'm going to give them to you the way they came to me in what I offer as really the only steps that I teach, called Shift and Lift. And the first step is that we have to have awareness of what is upsetting us and get to the thought that you are thinking. You've got to get to the thought. Once you have that thought and you're aware of that thought, the thought has two sides. That thought, I'm pissed that my son took drugs and got addicted, can have a low frequency of judgment, or I wish my son would not have taken the drug that they took. God, what can I learn from this? So that means we move to a place of acceptance. Am I going to be in acceptance or condemnation? Once you get clear of the thought, step one, number two is you get to shift it. Are you going to look at the same thing through the eyes of love, or are you going to look at it through the eyes of the ego? It's very simple. Once you see the two sides, you are the one who has to decide, does this thought empower me in service to God? Once you're clear that you are on a mission from God, I know I am, so I can't do anything that is not loving. It just cannot happen. It's too painful for me to go to fear. It just, it sucks the joy out of life, so I don't do it. So for me, I'm very clear. I only do things that are in alignment with God. So step one, you have the awareness of it. Step two, which side am I in? Love or fear? Step three, choose the side that gives you the results that you want. Not for them, for you. For you, what feels most peaceful in your heart? Judging will never feel peaceful. This is why you have to practice honesty. Once you know that to judge is to make yourself righteous, but it's not being in your right mind, you then have to acknowledge, when I believe this thought with the ego, then I am creating an atmosphere of disengagement. I'm creating a distance from the loved ones because I close myself off and push them away. When I am operating from love, I'm creating an atmosphere of oneness. I'm connecting because I'm saying, you're welcome in this space. I don't agree with you, but you're welcome in my field. And that is where healing happens. When we welcome people without judging them, they start wondering, whoa, why am I judging you then? And we have to model that. So that's the third step. You need to understand the result of being in fear, the result of being in love, the result of thinking with your ego, the result of thinking with God. The fourth step is so simple. Acknowledge you chose one or the other. Acknowledge, whoa, I'm so powerful. Look at what I just did. I just shifted and lifted myself to love, or I just shifted and drifted into judgment. Wow, I did it all. Awareness, very simple. What are you thinking? Shift and lift. You have the power. Choose one or the other. The more you get practice at it, you know that this is what feels better. Third, you just see the consequences to that choice. You've got to see it all the way through. That's something that we don't do. We pass bills and laws and we do not see the consequences all the way through because the ego does not want us to see what we're creating. But when you are patient and you sit with what's happening, you can see all the way out, because the ego repeats patterns. God creates the new. When you see a repetitive pattern, you stop it by bringing in creativity that allows something new. And the fourth step is so simple. Oh, wow, I picked I picked which way I went. So simple. So it's so simple. That's what the Course wants us to understand. We're training our minds to realize that we can pick between two thought systems, and we have the power of decision, and we have within us, as we're studying before, the responsibility to activate that which gives us sight with God, to see how is this going to unfold. Ego puts blinders on. It doesn't want you to see consequences because it keeps kicking the can down the road so that it doesn't have to deal with it. And we have been complicit allowing this bullshit to happen where the things get kicked down the road, and we just turn a blind eye because we're too busy in our selfish desires to only take care of our houses and my house and my growth and my haircut and my, nails or whatever it might be, my bank account, my golf swing. We have been so selfishly oriented, and we have to acknowledge that we've been conditioned away of oneness into complete greed and selfishness, just as the controllers want it, and we are in the same frequency as they are in. It's not a matter of, oh, but they're more than I am. That is a quintessential ego permission to you be okay, a little bit low frequency, until you decide that you're a holy child of God, until you accept and claim for yourself what God has said is yours, until you see yourself exactly as the holy divine being that you are, worthy and deserving of everything that it is that you desire. You are not going to have the courage to claim for yourself all of the miracles that are yours. You won't be able to do that. And I lost the number. I closed my book. If anybody remembers the number of that lesson, I wanted to go back and read the title of it again, but I closed the page. It's funny. Once I closed it, then it's all right, whatever. 320 was that? Until we can claim this without any fear. My Father gives all power unto me. Thank you so much for posting the lesson number. My Father gives all power unto me. How am I using the power is what we need to get clear about. If you think somebody did it to you, you're blaming them, and you did it to yourself. If you decide you want to be loving no matter what, you claim it for yourself and you create a field where everybody is welcomed in your space. Doesn't mean that you are not going to be vigilant. It does not mean that you're not going to use discernment. It's just that you're not going to close your heart. You're not going to close your heart, and you're going to call people into their greatness. You're not going to tell them what they're doing wrong. You are going to be one who reminds them of what they could be doing right. That is the difference. That is the difference that changes everything. And that is what we are being called to do, is we are limitless. And we can do anything to shift humanity if we align with God. Believe me, God wants us to be free to enjoy this planet, because then God is expressing itself in all of its glory. Right now, we don't let God out of the closet too much because we have blocked God's ability to express itself freely, because we put on some masks, and God, frankly, is tired of this Halloween game that we've been playing, all masked up and not enjoying the ability to be our true selves fully and completely, freely. That's why life, liberty, and happiness are our birthright. We have the life of God in us, expressed through these physical vessels, to experience total liberty, including of our mind. Because when we are being ourselves, God flows through us, brings whatever it brings through us, then we will be happy. Don't take anything from anybody. There's no judgment. There's only love, joy, and peace, co-creation, collaboration. But we have to say no to the ways of the ego by saying, this is what I want instead. And that is what ends the judgment, and instead activates the discernment that says, no, this is the direction I'm going. I don't go around telling people, oh, I'm not going to take the vaccine because it's going to kill me. I say, I'm not taking that vaccine because I have the immunity of God inside of me, and that's what makes me healthy. I don't argue with the fear-based conversation. And if they tell me, oh, you're so selfish, I'm like, you can think about it that way. I said, but I'm not going to participate in giving you permission to validate your fears. Because see, if I go and get a vaccine to make you feel happy, I have just taught you that your strength doesn't come from you. It comes from what I do. I can't do that. I cannot make myself miserable enough for you to be okay. You need to find your own okayness without me. Then it's yours. And that is what we are here to model. But you can't model it for another and believe it's true for them if you don't realize that the Father gives all power unto each and every one of us. And those of us who take it and stick together, my goodness, what the things that we could do together is incredible. So, and we're doing it right here because this is sending ripples of frequency through the cosmos that are letting the universe know, oh my goodness, look at these people. They came together and they really want more love and support, and we'll get more creativity. We're going to get infused with more passion, more fire in our belly, because Source knows that we will be some of the ones who use that for good and not to torch more things on this planet as we have been used to doing in the past. I love you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Please unmute yourselves and share some more love. And remember, the Tuesday evening, it will be a Zoom event because I'll be in Colorado helping my daughter while her hubby's away, and I'll be the babysitter. I'm so excited. And thank you so much for your willingness to be the light, be the love, be the truth.
Thank you, Laina. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Laina. Thanks, Laina.
Love you, everyone.
And if you like this message,
thank
please
you, Laina.
share it. If you like this message, please share it. Help me spread these messages. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.